Hello everyone and welcome to The Charge, your source for all things collegiate esports. Alongside my co-host Bearlight, I am Box-Turtle. On today's show, we are looking at the current standings for the Tespa Collegiate Series and Varsity Invitational, the completion of the Collegiate Rainbow Six regular season, and giving you an update as we are 2 weeks into the CRL regular season. Before we get started today, however, we want to tell you about some of the amazing things we are building here at Stay Plugged In. Our recruitment leagues are in action this month. Fall Nationals for Rocket League and Winter Breach for Rainbow Six Siege are leagues built to prepare high schoolers for the recruitment process by providing an opportunity for competitive gamers to attend college and play for their favorite programs. In addition to providing the platform for the players to compete, we are also help building skill sets that will give them the best possible chance for success in college, like leadership, online presence, and healthy gaming habits. We stream matches weekly to our Twitch channel, so make sure to follow the link in the description and click follow to get notified on when we go live for more amazing matches.
And we've also been working on a way to contribute to collegiate programs as well. We're excited to announce an opportunity for any college program across the country to earn money for their programs.
Every week on our show, we will air a new piece of content to our YouTube channel as well. You, the viewers, will vote each week on your favorite content from the participating college. The content with the most views and votes at the end of our contest on December 7th will receive $10,000 towards their program. So check the description below for more information on the Charge Content Contest, and we can't wait to see what you're able to create.
Tespa Overwatch is off to a flying start as teams across the country are competing in the first of the preseason splits and the Varsity Invitational Series as well. And from what we saw in the Harrisburg Invitational earlier this year, the current collegiate Overwatch scene is packed full of amazing talent.
Absolutely.
Lots of solid players. And the Final Four of the preseason split 1 takes place next weekend, where we'll see Miami, Harrisburg, Cal Poly, San Luis, and Utah face off for that top spot in the bracket.
Meanwhile, a few matches still remain in the group stages for the Varsity Invitational as several teams still remain undefeated. We have our eyes on Mizzou, Harrisburg, Maryville, Northwood, and UC Irvine as those powerhouse teams still sit on top of their groups. We are excited to bring more coverage of Collegiate Overwatch in the coming weeks as these performances unfold, so stay tuned for that. As we approach week 3 of Collegiate Rocket League play, let's take a look at the early matchup results and break down which programs have positioned themselves well and which teams will need to make some adjustments moving forward. In the Western Conference, as expected, we see a hot start from Arizona. They are the first team to reach that 6-0 mark. Their first 4 matchups were won by a shutout. And Bear, what do you make of this strong start as they continue to roll through the league play undefeated?
Yeah, you know what? I like this Arizona team a lot, and there's no doubt that they're a playoff team come November. I would go a step above that as well and say they're definitely a contender for the championship this year. That being said, we just don't know how good this team is this season because they really haven't played anybody notable yet. I mean, they've played a couple teams, 2-4 Texas Tech, 2-3 Colorado State. Those are the 2 toughest matchups they've had so far, but we'll definitely see how powerful this team actually is in the upcoming weeks because their schedule is going to get a lot tougher.
For sure, and this North Texas team as well, another undefeated team in the West, also yet to drop a single game in each of their 3 series so far.
Yeah, it's an impressive way to begin the season. There's no doubt about it at 4-0. And it includes wins over 4-1 Kansas State and LSU as well. And although LSU has been struggling a little bit, it's definitely full of talent, though, and I was impressed with their performances in those wins as well. I mean, those 2 teams are solid, good wins, and it's awesome to see this team approach every single game like they're the favorites. They're hungry for a playoff appearance, and so far they're doing everything right to make sure that they're in the picture come November.
Absolutely, and speaking of LSU, this team has lost 3 of their first 5 matchups, placing them at 2-3 through 2 weeks. Should LSU fans panic about being in a playoff spot their 3rd season already played?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's time to panic, right? I mean, they dropped to undefeated North Texas and a Kansas State team that's been on fire since the spring showdown, and it's definitely a questionable loss to Washington State recently, and they haven't played the top 2 teams yet in the West, right? Arizona, Oregon,
Yeah.
Those 2 teams are going to be tough to beat. Their last matchup, the one against North Texas as well, they fell victim to the reverse sweep. I mean, they've had some chances to win some really big matches. Now they have to figure out how to close out their series, and Otherwise, it'd be time to panic in Louisiana.
No, you're totally right. Nebraska and Missouri State both with rough starts sitting at 0-4. What do you think is to blame for such a slow start for these programs?
Yeah, Nebraska has definitely had a tough schedule to start things off, right? They played Arizona and Oregon, like we mentioned before, and sometimes when you play those teams early, it's good because you get to see a lot of talent early, right? That being said, if you steal a win from either of these teams, you have all the momentum moving forward. Unfortunately for Nebraska, they weren't able to, and now they have quite the hole to dig out of as well. The only team that they've really played close was UCSB, and this team is only sitting one spot higher than they are, right? So they've only won one game this season at 1-4. And at best, I mean, Nebraska, they might win a series. They might take one against Long Beach. They might take one against Missouri State. But I wouldn't count on a miraculous turnaround for this program this year.
On to the Eastern Conference, where we see a very lopsided start to the season so far through the first 2 weeks. 4 teams still remain undefeated, and there are currently 7 teams with only 1 win or still searching for their first victory. Now let's start with the top of the conference with USF, Northwood, Akron, and Stockton, who have yet to lose a series. Which of these programs has impressed you the most so far, Barrett?
You know, this might actually come as a surprise to a lot of people watching this because you would expect me to say, you know, USF with their top team at 6-0 right now, Northwood at 5-0, and of course the well-known and well-respected Akron as well. They're at 5-0. But I'm going to go with Stockton. They're at 4-0 right now, but the thing is, their schedule has been more difficult than anybody else at the top of their bracket, and we see them every single matchup that they've had. Every win that they've had has been against a team that's above 500. So really solid matchups. And I think when those top 4 powerhouses, when they go at it, when we finally see those top tier teams go at it, I think they're going to be better prepared because of the competition they've had to play so far.
No, you're definitely right. And right now in the Eastern Conference is considered the tougher of the 2 conferences due to the large number of competitive teams. To have 2 teams qualify for league play from one school is incredibly difficult. And for a program to have 2 teams undefeated through their first 3 series is also pretty unheard of. And of course, we're talking about USF. Like we mentioned before, their top team is 6-0, and the USF Green is not too far behind, currently in the playoff spot at 4-2.
Yeah, USF has put together an outstanding Rocket League program, and it really shows having the top tier teams, 2 of them in the East, by the way, the tougher of the conferences. It speaks to player depth. It speaks to the raw talent that they have on the pitch as well. And the high efficiency of their recruiting, which kind of flies under the radar sometimes, but they've done a great job of just that.
No, you're definitely right. And Northern Virginia Community College, or NOVA, starts their series at 3-2. In traditional sports, community colleges don't typically have the chance to take the spotlight. Esports, of course, grants the school a unique opportunity to attract students and new players, and Nova's solid start in such a tough conference has helped the school grow in numbers and community involvement. So congratulations to them. Well played all around. We look forward to covering them moving forward, and best of luck.
Hello and welcome to Gachyuh Covered. I'm Taylor Gotch, and I'll be taking this segment's time to discuss anything related to esports. Today's 2 minutes will be about sportsmanship in esports. Having good sportsmanship in any competition is a must to keep the competition healthy, but we all know that this isn't always the case in esports. I want to take a few minutes to help limit the toxicity and keep things positive. 1, timeliness. Your teammates rely on you to be on time and ready to play your matches and practices. Not communicating that you're running late or can't make it affects your teammates a lot and the team's ability to improve. Ensure you set a schedule with your team weekly to overcome these issues. Number 2, chat. When you're communicating in a public chat, always be a good sport. This means typing GGs and good round in the chat, not typing good night or get better. This looks incredibly poor on you, and people will remember you as a negative player. If the community knows you as a toxic player and or a bad sport, you won't be able to find players willing to play with you. 3, post-match team review. Often in esports, after a match goes poorly, the losing team starts to point the blame at others, rather than coming together as a team to discuss where the issues happened and how to overcome said issues. You should always put mistakes behind the team, whether or not it was someone's fault in particular. Reassure your teammates that you can overcome these mistakes. Go back to the drawing board, fill in the gaps in your strategy, and then go win the next match or map. 4, ownership of your gameplay. Being a good sport is also understanding and recognizing your mistakes in the game. We all miss our shots from time to time, but how you react is incredibly important. Own the mistake and go make the next play to win the round. Thanks for joining me. Tune in every week on The Charge to hear more. I'll see you next week. Gachyuh Covered.
The 5 weeks of the CR6 regular season came to a close last week, and the Premier Playoff brackets have been seeded. A bracket full of stacked teams is going to be exciting to watch, so let's review some of the key matchups from the regular season as we gear up to watch these playoffs unfold.
The Ohio State University Gray team secured the first overall seed heading into the playoffs, followed by Purdue Gold, Akron, and Colorado Black rounding out the top 4 seeds respectively. This number 1 OSU team dominated group play, having the highest overall round differential and going undefeated. Their group play matchups consisted of only one other premier qualifying team, the 21 seed Georgia Tech Gold. And looking back at the top heavy standings resulting from that group play, we'll keep an eye on how this team performs against top tier talent later on in the bracket.
Absolutely, and Ohio State Gray were led by players One Daddy and Cal, who both had survival rates over 50% and averaged over a kill per round. Incredible talent exists not only on that roster, however, as the second team, Ohio State Scarlet, is also bringing everything that they have into this season as well, as they qualify for the number 10 seed for the Premier bracket while dropping only one match through group play. We look forward to seeing these teams compete, as Ohio State has clearly built an incredible program.
And Akron University also bringing the heat into the playoffs, going undefeated through group play and taking down the summer season runner-ups in Montreal. The rest of Akron's regular season schedule was tough as well, facing off with teams like St. Clair, Boston University, and Ohio State Scarlet.
Yeah, and in that Week 5 matchup against Montreal, we saw IMAT lead his team to a sweep with a massive 15 kills on that final map. We look forward to following this talented Akron team through the rest of the playoffs as they will make their run at the championship. But speaking of Montreal, the summer season runner-ups are looking to make a run of their own through the rest of the Premier playoffs. I sat down with Platts, one of the players from this Montreal team, to talk about what they are doing to prepare themselves for the playoffs.
Yeah, of course, we knew that Summer League was kind of a practice for us, and not all the teams were there. So it was more to keep playing as a team and build some kind of chemistry. And of course, coming to fall, where we need to be ready to face off every team. Like we faced Akron last, I think it was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday. And it was a really good match, and we hope we can find them again in finals, I guess, and play against them another time, have a revenge.
Texas Tech A finished on top of their group, taking down their rivals in the Lone Star State, Team Longhorn Gaming in Week 5 to secure their top spot. Despite dropping a series to the summer season champs UT San Antonio, Texas Tech is shaping up to be a serious contender in the bracket. Bait and Buck lead this team with KDs over 2.0 and survival rates over 50%. Buck has one of the highest overall CR6 PR in the entire league. And the entire Texas Tech team have above average player ratings and impressive stats across the board. As a 6th seed, they have given themselves the best possible shot to give any team in this bracket a run for their money.
No, they definitely have, and we saw Kennesaw State Gold took down Florida Poly in their Week 5 matchup to secure their 4-1 record and a 15 seed in the Premier Playoff bracket as well. Led by Smack with a massive 139 kills through group play and averaging over a kill per round, this team is positioned nicely for a run at the title.
They are. Their first playoff matchup is against 18 seed Longhorn Gaming, who holds the same record and a similar round differential as well. This tight series will come down to who becomes the X factor, who steps up and leads their team. Both are hunting that upset on number 2 Purdue as well, who's just above them in the bracket. And both Longhorn Gaming and Kennesaw had an average schedule throughout group play, but they did take care of business in commanding fashion as well. These teams, they definitely deserve their spot in the Premier playoffs, and we anticipate a strong grind of a matchup in round 1.
No, we definitely do. We also saw St. Clair Saints hold strong through group play to make their way into the playoffs, with their only loss so far coming from that 3-seed Akron. I actually had the chance to speak to JM Beast, one of the players from St. Clair, to ask about how they are prepping for their playoff bracket ahead of them and how they are looking forward to that rematch against Akron.
We're mostly doing a lot of scrims. We do about 2 maps a day, and then we do on top of that some VOD reviews. So we're going through our old matches, looking through at our mistakes, what we could do better, how we could play as a team better, and then looking at our opponents' matches and seeing, oh, they'd like to play this map or do this specific take or push, and we're practicing countering that as well.
Rainbow Six Siege continues to grow as an esport, and especially in the collegiate scene. We are super excited to follow this league moving forward with the great matchups ahead, so stay tuned in the future as we will look to cover CR6 as we get closer to crowning a Season 5 champion. We would like to give you a sneak peek of an interview that we had with Mike RUFAIL, aka Hastr0, former professional Call of Duty player and the Chief Gaming Officer for Team Envy.
So talk about players in general, from a coaching perspective, from an owner's perspective. What attributes do you typically look for in a competitive player? What kind of stands out the most? Obviously, they have to have a skill set to get to this level, but beyond that, not just for them, but to obviously grow the team, grow the brand, et cetera. Is it social media following? Is it just skills? Is it team dynamics, chemistry?
No, yeah, I'll tell you, man. And I have a pretty specific example of what I look at. First, whenever I'm watching players play at LAN competitions, like major tournaments, I'm always scouting other teams too and their players, right?
Yep.
Looking at what's out there and who we're playing against, and I just watch tons of games. I watch tons of matches. I watch Twitch a lot, but I'm also at these events when we were having them pre-COVID. Like I traveled all over the world, going to the biggest tournaments in the world, competing with my teams. But I would always look at the other players playing if two other different teams were playing and we were waiting to play a match or something. I'm always watching.
Sure.
And there's this you got about split seconds, basically, few seconds after a match or a map finishes or a round finishes. If you look at the losing team's face in a round or a map, or the match, and you see the guy that's really pissed off when he loses, that's the guy you want. And he also has to have a combination he has to have that balance of being able to bring himself back into the game.
Sure.
Right. And getting his head back into the game and being positive and continuing to work hard and being able to let it go, but the first thing that I look for is the guy that's real mad when he loses, because that's the guy that cares the most. And those are the guys I want.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we have for you today here on this episode of The Charge. Be sure to follow our Twitch channel to watch all of our recruitment leagues over the coming months, and check the link in the description down below for more information on the Charge Content Creators Sweepstakes.
Absolutely. We can't wait to see what all the content colleges are able to create, and we look forward to showcasing that content on this channel. If you are a college and you would like to be featured on The Charge, please reach out to us. The instructions on how to do so are in the description below. If you haven't already, please make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you will never miss an episode of this show. And don't forget to go to espin.gg to check out all the amazing things we are working on every day. You can find me on Twitter at CLTBoxTurtle. Bearlight?
At Bearlight Gaming.
Thanks for watching this episode of The Charge, and remember, stay plugged in.